Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Hardscape Huddle. Today I am greeted with guys from TECHO-Bloc. We have Jeff Taphouse and Thomas. I'm not even going to try to murder that last name, so I apologize. How are you guys today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming in. You
Doing
came in
awesome.
from
Philadelphia, north of Philly.
good. So
And I had a long commute 15 minutes away from Marlboro, New Jersey.
yeah, that's great. Good for you. Well, you get lucky. So today we're going to talk about some interesting things that are happening in our marketplace throughout probably the country, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be hardscaping in the commercial environment. And you guys are the commercial reps for TECHO?
Yes.
Territory sizes?
Yeah, so I'm based in New Jersey, but obviously I cover New Jersey, New York, up until upstate, mostly all of Pennsylvania up until Pittsburgh. And I was
Go
covering
Steelers.
Yeah, go Steelers. I'm a Jet fan, so. And then I was covering Delaware, but as soon as we expand the team, that'll go to the new rep in that area.
Yeah, to Thomas's point, I've been with TECHO-Bloc 10 years, but joined the commercial division as the first U.S. commercial sales manager 3 years ago. So since then, really ramped up, really seen a lot of growth. So we're hiring new positions. So
Gotcha.
we hired a new position in D.C., so that person's going to do Delaware instead of Thomas. His pipeline's growing where he is, so New York City especially, and we're able to kind of make those territories smaller as we've grown. I have a slide here I'll show you guys when he puts me up. Our engineering team it's all about, we're not independent reps. We work for the company.
Mm-hmm.
We care about what it looks like post-construction during the process. Lincoln's been with us 20 years. Felipe's been with us 10. They're our lead engineers. They're available. Engage with them.
Right.
They want you to
And they
call
work
them.
directly for you?
Yeah, they've been with the company. Like I said, Lincoln's been with us 20 years. He's on all the CMHA boards and helps write specifications for the industry. And he's so nice. And he's so available for the most part. And so like wall detail takeoffs and stuff, we'll give you the exact quantity of the units that you need if you're doing a skyscraper job. And we do this for residential too. People don't know that. So if you're doing a permitted wall and you just need a little bit of additional support, engage. We'll do the preliminary design.
And how do they reach out to
engineering@techobloc.com?
Oh, it's just that easy.
That easy. It's right on the website. You can submit all your details and files on the website too. Just hit engineering support and you'll get a phone call.
Okay.
And the local reps are involved. If it's something they can help answer quickly, they will. But take advantage of it because you want to build correctly and you want to challenge. On commercial jobs, sometimes you get specs that don't make sense. And to say, oh, I just built it to the engineer spec, that's silly, because if it does fail, you're still dragged into the mayhem and the drama.
Yeah.
And so if you don't believe that it's being specified correctly, you should challenge it. And we'll do custom shop drawings too. Like we'll do little custom takeoffs like that. We have the technical data support, grid placement for an engineer if they need it, permeable infiltration rates. But somebody said they wanted diamond and industrial permeable. Well, these are custom shop drawings.
Yeah.
We just made them. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time turnaround. Don't expect it the same day.
But I mean, a 3 to 5 day turnaround is still relatively quick in the engineering world.
Right.
Yeah, because you could be 3 to 5 weeks with, sometimes for stamped, shop drawings, depending on, how many plans they're looking at.
Well, the scale of the projects that anybody's doing, residential, commercial, requires engineering and permitting, and for the most part, some people don't, but they should, because you're disturbing a lot of land, and you're technically supposed to pull permits for almost all these projects, and so that's one of those headaches and problems for people that is a variable cost that they don't always anticipate or put into their overhead and recover properly. Is how much time are they going to spend at the permit office?
That's right.
What are they going to do if they fail the permit? If they skipped a step, if they didn't document, like for example, we talk about permeable pavement. This is our infiltration rate chart. Now, we have data on products. What if you're mixing products? What if you want to count your perimeter joint as a joint? If you want to count your cuts as a joint, like how do you actually submit that for permitting when you're mixing products? People don't know the answer to that, so they end up not using or making the design cool. Yeah. They actually just go to, hey, well, that's too complicated for us to figure out how to get that pre-approved for permitting, so we're just going to do one product only.
So a lot of what you just showed, most people don't realize, is in the TECHO spec book.
Yes.
Right. It applies to residential, commercial, this particular chart here, vehicular or pedestrian use. The one thing I want to focus on this, and it's something I've spent a lot of time on, is infiltration rate. Okay. What most people don't realize is, we'll take Antica, the first item on there, 993 inches per hour. That's inches of rain. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's inches of rain per hour that can come in and drain through that down into your sub base. Now, again, you have to have an open grade base for this. But when I tell people that, like, I can give you results, and they just look at me like, oh, I'm never going to get that much rain. No, but this is what it can absorb. Many, many years ago, when I was running another distributor, Pete came out. It was right after Hurricane Sandy. And we did a hands-on demo where we took a cement truck, filled it with water, and dumped it on there. And don't quote me, but a very, very fast time. That water was gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
runs right into maintenance, and the reason why people wouldn't use it is they're afraid of it clogging so the initial post-construction for a permeable pavement is typically 400 inches minimum. You see that some of these are a lot higher than that.
Right.
So 400 inches minimum is like the CMHA standard in their tech spec. And so the whole system is designed for 1.5 inch storm. There's some municipalities that might deviate from that, but like, you're really not managing the 100-year, 1,000-year, 10,000-year storms, which are happening more often. But you're not even trying to manage a 6-inch storm.
Yeah.
Your goal for the design of the project and the bottom of excavation, the depth, and all that stuff is really just for a 1.5 inch storm. 99% of rain events. Now, 400 inches per hour plus, right? So, 500
Valet being the least there, right? Yeah,
400.
And we probably should retest that because I think it's higher. The idea is, from a maintenance standpoint, there are studies on this. If you do no maintenance on a PICP, permeable interlocking concrete pavement, you might get up to 90% clogged in 10 years. Now, studies out of Europe
with no maintenance.
Maintenance, zero maintenance, no preventative. You're not going out there with a leaf blower in the fall at all. You just left it completely alone, exposed. You're going to get some sediment collection. You're going to get some organic material settling on that in the joints, and you might get about 90% clogged. There's studies out of Europe that say even if the system's 95% clogged, it can handle a 6-inch storm. And also, you're not maintaining necessarily the entire installation. You're typically just maintaining the lower elevation where sediment's collecting. We have cross sections showing solid header courses and elevated curbing, and you're not going to get pooling and ponding on a project as long as the sediment has somewhere to go. So that's where the engineering team, like, you might not have ever heard of a permeable pavement with a solid laid header course, meaning you're polysanding that header course against the curb, so sediment can collect there, but you're not going to get any standing water because the water still has somewhere to go, but the sediment isn't clogging your joints.
Okay.
Paver Pete has done a ton of that with Lincoln. He's our director of education. So he's helped drive these specialty installation cross sections and details. We have more cross sections and details on permeable pavement than every manufacturer combined.
Correct. Do you happen to have that one with you or no?
The solid header one, I do. I can pull it up in a second. It is a really cool one. So I'll pull it up.
Yeah, when you get time.
Yeah.
So another thing big on commercial is updraft. Okay, so you do a lot with rooftop decks, I'm assuming, especially, Thomas, you have New York City. Is there anything we need to know? And a lot of it, that is large format, right? So, and pedestals, can we lay 3-piece patterns on pedestals and things like that?
So I think with the pedestal market, right, there's always been that traditional 2x2, right? 4-corner pedestals, right? And I think a lot of places are starting to notice that you could do a lot more on a roof deck than what you ever imagined. And that's with the grid system, right? So basically it's a 2x2, almost looks like a milk crate.
Yep.
Some designs are a little bit different with some different companies, but that's the general design. Now, there is a cost with the pedestal still. It might be generally a larger cost because of it. However, depending on the weight of the roof and what it could handle, you could open up design aspects to where you could do a 3-piece, blue 60 type of design on there. Now, the only thing that we would ask for, or a lot of companies do ask for, is the pavers or slabs, whatever you're putting on top of that grid. They might have to be glued down, right, because of those wind tunnel aspects. And unfortunately, you can't predict weather. I know we're kind of talking about the 1,000-year storms and all that stuff, but I feel like we're starting to see that a lot more, especially more wind, definitely different weathers. So they want a proven system, right? Because you don't want a slab falling off a roof in New York City. You'll be on the news,
Very
as fast as possible. And no, but we have good partners that we deal with, especially on the pedestal side, Profilitech specifically, where we feel really confident that they have all the testing done. They actually got the testing done down in Florida.
Yeah, the Miami-Dade
Yeah.
spec is
that's the one to follow.
well. That's the funny thing about it is there hasn't really been a standard for a long time. The only real municipality that has put in requirements is Miami-Dade County, where they say, there's a lot of hurricanes, right? But so does wind uplift need to be the same in New York? Does it need to be the same in Chicago, or does it need to be the same in St. Louis? Right? I know there's the Windy City in Chicago, but what about Nebraska? Like, why does it need to be tied down, or what's the rule there? So sometimes weight per square foot is also a way around it. So if you're using a heavier slab, I think City of Baltimore allows you to have, as long as it's 25 pounds per square foot. So sometimes they're using really like porcelain, for example, is lighter, it could fly off, or you get really thin 2-inch slabs that might be lighter than that 100-mile-an-hour wind could pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're not testing it, or we're not requiring it to meet the 150-mile-an-hour winds of like a hurricane in Miami, but as long as it hits that 25 pounds per square foot, like our industrial slab or Blue Grande do, you don't necessarily need the tie
pavers
down.
do, right? 2 3/8.
Yeah, porcelain's one of the ones that became really popular for roof decks that doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of the tie down requirements started, was because they were afraid of that movement. Concrete, I think, for a long time wasn't as much of a fear for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, porcelain was, in my opinion, I think it got a lot of traction because it's, think about it, if you're up 40 stories to get those pavers up there, you got to go get a crane, right?
Yes.
And pavers tend to be a little more heavier than porcelain, so you're able to get more square footage up on a roof a little bit quicker and be able to install maybe a little bit quicker. But again, like it's, apples and oranges with stuff like that. So that's where I think they kind of, opened up a lot of eyes in terms of, use our tile. It's less, lesser weight. You can be able to get it up sooner. You get more square footage on there. You could move a little bit quicker. But in all seriousness, it really, the weight I do think helps a little bit, kind of what Jeff is saying, especially that. And I think Profilitech specifically, right, if there are projects for roof decks for commercial, they will do the takeoff for the contractor, right? There's a service that they provide. They will hop on a call. They do have rep support too, not just TECHO-Bloc, but for them as well. And they will help the contractor install, right? Because a lot of people feel like, oh, I've done pedestals before, but you never done this system before. There's still going to be a learning curve.
And there's a lot of, I'm glad you brought it up, there's a lot of different pedestal systems out there. Like you're saying, there's tray systems out there too. And I'm not too familiar with those because it's not needed on the residential end. But, guys need to get used to that kind of design build, if they're going to do a lot of urban areas.
Well, there is a major trend towards what referred to as on structure. So you're building on structure,
mm-hmm.
and so pedestals are for anybody that does a lot of commercial work. We've seen some companies say that it's now 50% or more of their business is on structure construction projects because of the multifamily. He touched on the trend with commercial real estate developers is they don't want just one big space for everybody to use. They're building these little pocket spaces throughout. There tends to be an available amenity space on every level now, instead of people having individual balconies, or in some cases individual balconies.
Right.
That's all pedestal installation too.
Yeah.
And so there's it's not going away anywhere. It's
if anything, it's growing traction.
Major. It's really growing, and that's where I think they started to really look at the hidden lockdown stuff, or putting washers on the surface. We can curve cut our pavers on the side, and you can put a washer on the inside, and it's hidden lockdown. It still limits the type of styling you can do, but it makes it look better, and it's still accessible. You don't have to glue it to the tray. Yeah. Now, if you were going to use a tray and you were going to glue it, you could do a 2x2 because the trays are 2x2, and you can still lift that whole unit up, even if it's glued, if you needed access below. But that gets a little complicated. So, but if you were to do a tray and wanted to do a custom style, make it unique, 3-piece or whatever, well, maybe wherever you need to access, you do a stack bond 2x2.
Yeah, keep it simple.
And that area remains accessible. You still have to glue. You still get the benefit of the tie down system and the wind uplift, but you just need to maybe lay out the project so that you can still access what you need to.
Interesting. I mean, the world it's endless, and we're just getting going. And Pete and I and others on this show have talked about Europe being 50 years or more ahead of us, right? You're seeing all their roads. Why are we not building roads with, concrete interlocking pavers?
It's the asphalt thing. It's
cost.
Yeah, it costs. Asphalt's cheap up front. Like you said, it's easy to repair, easy relatively to repair. It's actually not that bad for the environment compared to poured concrete, believe it or not. From a sustainability standpoint, it's much better than poured concrete because the cement production and steel production, that's what's bad for the environment.
As a whole, you're saying as a whole.
Yeah, the carbon
footprints of it.
Correct. Yeah, the amount of fossil fuels required to produce cement and produce. But it's one of those misnomers too, is that we our products have a lot of supplementary cementitious materials. We use byproduct like slag.
Yep.
And we've tested recycled glass and done some other things that we're trying to reduce the amount of cement in our products, and there's no steel. So even like our walls, if you're doing a freestanding wall or outdoor kitchen, you're not using mortar mix, you're not veneering. There's a lot of cement and mortar. You're not doing a steel reinforced concrete footer for a seating wall like you would if you were doing a masonry unit wall. So there are some benefits there, but really it's cost up front. But I do think that people are starting to see that there's benefit, especially for the stormwater benefits, doing permeable pavement, aesthetically too, though. People just want a nicer look than asphalt.
Yeah. And we're talking value, right? These people are putting tens of millions of dollars into these retirement communities and high-end residential condos, apartment buildings in the urban areas. They want something unique. I mean, that one drawing you had there, I know that was just a rendering, but that's outrageous looking. And you can warrant more rent, even if it was a retail shops. You can warrant more money for those retail buildings because it's just the nicer appearance. So you're going to get a nicer store in there. Maybe you get, Louis Vuitton and Coach and, places I can't afford to shop at, but
you're seeing that more. Exactly. Yeah. Especially the storefronts, right? Yeah. You're seeing more gyms, like high-end spin classes. You're seeing like higher end grocery stores. You're seeing some shops that sell higher end, like wedding dresses, suits, tuxes, specifically. But I think it's going to, what I've noticed, right, it's always been asphalt. That's always been the standard for everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's areas in New York City, right? Not just TECHO-Bloc, but they'll do, like you go to Meatpacking District, right? You have high-end stores there and you have high-end restaurants. It brings in a lot of not just New Yorkers, not just New Jerseyans, not just
again, tourism.
Tourism, right? I want to go to this restaurant, the Fig and Olive, because the New York Rangers, I know that they go there, right? But if you go down that road, it's all natural stone down the road, right? And you look at someone, you're like, wow, this is nice, and I don't know if I could justify what I paid for dinner, but it justifies the trip, maybe, right? You take good pictures, it becomes memorable. And you're starting to see that more with the mixed-use residential areas, to where you don't have just the plain roadway of asphalt going into it. You're starting to mix in roadway pavers. You're starting to mix, I think, one of our more unique products is the Villaggio. You're starting to see a lot of Villaggio be installed or spec'd with those areas, and it's permeable too. So we've done a couple of projects where it's it was in some light vehicular areas, more for just parking their cars, as parking spaces. I think that needs to be talked about more. I think people need to start utilizing that more because people are looking for that.
Well, it's the mixed use Main Street feel.
Yeah.
Right. It's been proven that pavers slow down traffic. It's safer. So if you're going to have a roadway through a shopping center or a mixed use development and there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, first of all, asphalt has a lot of issues. You have to repair it constantly. There's tripping hazards, etc. So that's a property management issue or developer issue. But so if you can just do a nicer paver, manage the water if you can, if you make it permeable, there's
that tax,
that extra benefit. Yeah. Then you and reduced winter maintenance too, right? And then you don't need as many de-icers, you don't need as much winter maintenance cost.
Yep.
The snow melts and doesn't, your snow removal costs drop dramatically, especially in the areas where you get high traffic.
Yeah.
And so we are seeing a lot of developments where they are doing, like even New Jersey Pack, there's a major roadway going through it, and it's all going to be the same pavers. So they want to maintain that look throughout, and hopefully it does kind of slow down traffic, make it safer for people.
How come they slow down on it?
It's the feeling that you get a little bit more of the vibration.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Makes sense.
But it is safer.
But I've always used this, living in New Jersey for most of my life, is water main breaks, during those cold weathers, right? Or cold weather. But it seems to take a week to fix the road. You can't use asphalt as well as you normally can in the summer months or warmer months. So now they repair that water main break. And if this was a hardscape paver road, as soon as they start bringing that pipe down or the sewer lines down, whatever the case may be, we can start with the pavers coming right down the street.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for the entire project to be finished, guys.
No, you can repair and replace same day.
Same day.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're not calling in a concrete truck, or you're not calling in an asphalt truck
Right.
and waiting for ideal conditions. Especially if you're doing permeable pavement, then you don't have to worry about optimal moisture content of the base. So yeah, there's a lot of that.
Thomas, you and I worked at at that one in Ocean County here.
Yep.
And it was going to be, I think, 13 or 14 homes. And we were trying to push for the whole roadway to be pavers because of a high, was it a high water table or?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And eventually, the builders have kind of put that project on pause for other reasons, but we were trying to get that to be the whole road, sidewalks, and everything.
And I think it's a big push for the townships, right? Just getting them to buy in, right? And it's all about the education, right? And I think people are so used to doing the norm, and they're afraid to go a little bit outside the boundaries because they just don't know, right? But if you just do it and you try it out, it might just work, or it will work, right? It's proven. It's proven.
You
that
guys
it will
have
work.
test results. It's
proven.
Works. Yeah.
Yeah. There are some people also that are engineers, specifically civil engineers, that when they get into the site work before a landscape architect gets to sort of put their spin on it, where they just want rigid bases. They just want rigid. They think asphalt's a rigid, base. Steel reinforced concrete's rigid. They're afraid of flexible bases. Now, I know Paver Pete feels very strongly about this. A lot of people in the industry do. Flexible bases have stood the test of time in Europe.
Yeah,
there's flexible bases that have lasted 2,000 years or more, and way more than that actually. The Roman Empire, and so whereas asphalt and concrete don't.
That's correct.
They hardly last 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
And so that's the concept that we're trying to impart on people, is that you should be able to do a flexible base. You might want to use some drive grid. If there's a lot of bad soils, a lot of excavation for construction, and you're afraid of the fill dirt settling or whatever, you can put some fail safes in there with geotextiles and geogrids, and there's some new products on the market. Trass bedding by Romex is one of those, where it actually creates a rigid base in a permeable application. Wet sands, those types of things. So there are new systems that, I should say new, they're new to the North American market, but they're not new to Europe.
Right.
And so the technology has been there for a long time, and people will say, oh, well, that's why we use asphalt. That's why we use poured concrete, because we're afraid of settlement. We're afraid of, site soils being disturbed or whatever. But they figured it out in Europe, and the technology exists.
They figured it out and have been using it successfully for
decades.
Yeah. Like I said, they're 50 years or more.
And they install mechanically too.
Yeah.
They're efficient.
So therefore, yes, we use asphalt here. Okay. Once you factor in the mechanical installation over there, I'll bet you, in the long grand scheme of longevity of that roadway, it's probably the same price, the same cost. One's just up front, and one's every few years you're maintaining or repaving or what have you.
And that's the commercial. There's some really good commercial contractors that have been at it since the 80s and 90s who they went to Europe, and that's where they learned. Phil Baylor with Pave Tool, he brought in Optimus technology from Europe, but he also was laying pavers in the 80s.
Yep.
Right. So he's smart. He's seen it all happen. He's been around long enough. But believe it or not, there's still a lot of commercial contractors that are not using machines. They're not using slab lifters. They're not using laser grading technology. It's a shock.
It's just there to make it easier for us, be more efficient, make more money.
Yeah, even Engon and the tilt rotators and excavating smart and using mechanical wheelbarrows instead of labor. And people lose money because they move dirt too many times.
Yeah.
If you can minimize the amount of times you have to stockpile dirt, you're making more money.
Yep.
Just think about your workers. They'll just be happy to go to work now, right? Think about it. Like if I have to lift an industrious slab or a power or a blue grind day every single day or something of equivalent to that weight, it takes a toll on somebody
For the next 3 months.
like it just works smarter, not harder. And I think that's where the education comes, right? And I think Phil's done a great job educating, obviously going to our Hardscape showcases, being an advocate and being an innovator too in the industry.
We got to get you on the show, Phil.
Come on, Phil.
We brought the entire commercial team to Connecticut to Phil Baylor's office in January. All the Canadians came down and all the U.S. reps, and we did it because we knew that was probably the area where we could provide the most consulting. We could provide the most value to our customers.
Yep.
Not only with contractors, but educating specifiers. We have master specs written on certain products that we know that you can front, meaning so there's products that you can grab with a clamp and you can front it.
Yep.
Phil Baylor calls it pain to pavement, reducing the pain, going from pallet to pavement. That's actually how he says it. That pallet to pavement pain, there's so much effort that goes in from taking it from the pallet and bringing it to the laying face, and then the person at the laying face putting it in the ground. But really the biggest hurdle or the biggest cost of labor is that bringing it to the laying face. So if you could take a product and you can clamp it and you can front it, and then that person at the laying face has a backpack vacuum, and they're just, even if it's a 6x13 or something small,
right.
Your efficiency doubles. Now, if you can actually lay that product on the bedding, and you have to maybe stitch it together, tighten it up, you're tripling your production.
Yes.
Now, if you have a product like Blue 60, our 3-piece mold, it's 12 square feet per row, and it's a newly designed where you can go left to right. You go up another row, and you just have to flip a square and rec, and it's seamless. You don't get any 4 corners on the entire install. That's what I would refer to as mechanical installation with minimal adjustments. Now, especially a big board, large format board at 12 square feet per board, you're talking about quadrupling your production rates with that mold.
We have, and he's primarily a residential installer. He's a single man crew. He bought himself a unilift that he hooks onto the back of his backhoe, and he says just by himself he can get 1,000 square feet a day by just bringing the pallet with his machine. And he says I lay 2-3 pallets, blending them all together in one job site. He said it's so simple, no more on my knees. And he's getting older, but installers need to look at some of this stuff. It's not just more efficient, it shows up every day. You can cut your 4-man crews down to 3-man crews and start more crews with the labor you already have.
And usually you have to slow down and think about it, but the help is there.
Yeah,
you can go to Hartford, Connecticut, and spend 2 days there, and get free training from the masters of mechanical installation. They have a sandbox. They have a ton of our products on site. You can we all went and we got in the S19, which is the fastest paver laying machine in the world. And I have video of Tom in there, and it's all playing in the excavator. We laid pallets of pavers ourselves just to experience, how fast it really was, that we did in January. And I couldn't preach it enough because I think that people get hard-headed about it, or there's layers of bureaucracy within their own company, and they can't convince the decision maker to invest or to send them to Connecticut to train. But take advantage of the resources. There couldn't be a nicer person or a nicer family than the Baylors, in my opinion. They're so genuine about it.
They're doing so good for the industry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just elevating the industry.
Well, another big failure on commercial sites and residential too, I have to touch on this because it just made me think of it talking about Phil Baylor, is hybrid edging. So pay repeat jokes with Phil. So hybrid edging it solves the problem of uplift with plastic edging. Because it comes in.
Have a slide, do you?
It comes in at 60 degrees. Yeah, I do.
So we're talking about an aluminum edging,
Yeah. So
Okay, where we're not driving just 10-inch galvanized spikes down and through the subsoil.
correct. You asked me to show this solid header course
Oh,
slide.
yep.
So this is the solid laid header course with the permeable pavement, so sediment can collect against the curb. Elevated curbs to reduce soil and erosion and sediment from entering insulation. You can sweep off anything here, and you're not going to get any pooling and ponding.
Yep.
Right. So that's that concept. There's other edge restraints for permeable pavement. I'm not going to show you them all, but you basically can't use a traditional plastic edging with spike. You'd have to switch to dense grade because it doesn't grab. So now the other issue with dense grade, while I'm on the topic, is that with plastic edging, is that it goes in vertical. So eventually, with heaving, the ground heaving, it will start to lift up, and it fails. And as soon as the edge fails, especially on driveway applications, you get a lot of lateral creep, and the thing really just starts to fall apart. You get bedding and joint fill washout, and then weeds growing and separation, and it really is hard to put it back together.
Right. And then getting back to that, now let's say you're doing a community full of driveways, right? And you have that creep, right? Now everybody says, well, I don't want that because look what happens to it.
Yeah.
All right. And I just had a conversation with a doctor of mine who says, well, I need somebody to come fix my pavers, and I think I want to go concrete. So wait a second, why? And he says, because they all settled. I have like little baby pools next to my pool.
Yeah.
And I said, no. It's just because somebody didn't get a good compaction there.
The industry gets a black eye. I give credit to Charles Ciccarella for investing in Paver Pete and investing in contractor education. There's some cool videos on him telling the story about this, but weed growth because of bad joint fill or not maintaining joint fill, rutting. So in commercial, a lot of engineers moved and architects and developers moved away from aggregate bases because people were doing it on stone dust.
Yes.
And it was causing major rutting. Residential, it was rampant. And that degrades over repetitive loads, and that's where you get the rutting. Now, it could also be a symptom of maybe the excavation wasn't good enough, the soil compaction of the wasn't good enough. There's more than one symptom, but that's also a major headache is that settlement and rutting and just poor insulation. Now, a lot of people are moving to clean stone.
Yes.
Hybrid base installations because of the benefits, which is a permeable base.
Yeah.
Now the question is, what do you do for the edge? I just showed the slide of the options. You either trowel in place or you do a trench of dense graded, which no one's doing a trench of dense graded to do plastic edging, or you pour a concrete curb, or so it's either you pour a concrete curb or you trowel a concrete edge.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if I should play the whole. There's a video, but you can just go on Phil's website, but. This hybrid edging, that V-stake, allows you to, in even a vehicular application, do an aluminum edge, not having to mix anything mortar on site, not having to store 60-pound bags of mortar mix, not
Which
worrying
is
about
break apart anyway.
Yeah,
right?
not worrying about winter conditions. I mean, even just moving 60 pounds of it's just a lot. So this is lightweight. It's aluminum. The V-stake works for permeable. The 60-degree stitching works for dense grade traditional bases, and it doesn't lift.
Yep.
And if you really see his demonstration of it, and if you watch the video, which I'm not going to play, but because no one's going to be able to hear it or whatever, but it's impressive to say the least.
Yeah,
and it's really the solution that we've been looking for.
We stock that and sell a decent amount of it. Again, it goes back to what you're comfortable with, right? Everybody's comfortable with the plastic edging. And then you put this out there, and yes, a little bit more money, okay? But once the guys get to use it, it's a no-brainer. They'll never go back. Yeah,
I mean, even this allows you, it's the only edge on the market that's not trowel in place, or you can encapsulate a corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's a benefit of it. And it's, I oversell it because I believe in it. And Paver Pete even tells Phil jokingly that eventually he's going to be a edging company that sells tools because he thinks that it's going to be such a big deal for the industry. And Phil's an inventor. He's one of the most impressive people you'll ever meet. All of his tools have really come from his passion for helping people.
Right.
So there's been a lot of specifiers that actually will spec this now, right? Because they've had so many failures over time, or not people doing it correctly. And again, it comes back to education, right? Yep. Phil's team, the TECHO-Bloc team,
and innovation,
right? Like, no one's talking about edge restraints the way that he does, or the way that we do, right? With our training. So,
and the industry at large isn't.
Well, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
that, right? This is the part. Okay, the job is done now, right? So now we gotta hurry up. We want to get out of here. I got a family to feed. We got to get to football practice and baseball practice, and so they skimp on this. They forget about this. But on those large commercial projects, that's where it's won.
Yeah.
Right. That's where that install is gonna last forever. And think about on a commercial end of it. And I keep saying commercial because you guys are the commercial gurus for TECHO-Bloc, but think about how many people are going to look at this. You want this to be the focal point of your portfolio, right? I mean, you could potentially have thousands of people walking across this.
Yeah, and you can grow grass on this. How many installations do you go where there's trowel in place or poured concrete, and then there's dead grass. The grass can't root against it.
Mm-hmm.
So even the simple things like that matter in the finished details of a project. And there hasn't been a solution. It's been a headache. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Because, I thank you.
Yeah.
But let's focus on and spend a couple more minutes on what TECHO is doing to get their name out there to the specifiers for these larger commercial projects.
I think it's lunch and learns,
Okay.
right? And I think TECHO-Bloc had such a great brand residentially, right? You go to TECHO-Bloc's website, it is, not just because I work here, in my opinion, it's the best website in the industry from a production company standpoint. Super professional, great online presence, from an Instagram aspect, from an ease of finding resources, right? So I think, if we're not able to get a lunch and learn right away, right, or we're not at an ASLA chapter event, right, the first level of them looking us up, I think, is a win, because I think you look at us versus the other competition out there, there's nothing better in terms of quality, in terms of the types of products that we offer, the design aspect, but also the professionalism that TECHO-Bloc has. So I think from that aspect, if someone just looks us up, they're going to be intrigued. All right.
I would agree. It's almost as if there's a media company that makes pavers, quite honestly.
Well, we built our brand on marketing, but we also built our brand on education. And so I got to tell the story because it's fun for me. I've been with TECHO-Bloc 10 years this year, but I was a TECHO Pro for 7 years prior. And I used to go fishing with my rep. I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid. But the reason I drank the Kool-Aid was because I went to Showcase. And I saw not just Paver Pete on stage, but I saw the attention to detail within the brand itself. And it felt special. And I thought the guy on stage was special. He's crazy, but he's special. And turns out he's actually that crazy off stage too. And that's special as well. Like,
yes.
He really cares. He wants to help people who want to be helped. And I went all in, became a TECHO Pro. It became part of my identity. The opportunity to come work here 10 years ago, I took it. I've been lucky enough to have several promotions, managing the Southeast, now being able to help rebuild the commercial division for the U.S. And that level of care is part of our DNA with Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've traveled around. You've been to, how many showcases have you been to?
Countless.
Yeah, almost all of them probably. And we've been doing it for almost 20 years now. And I think if you can just be genuine about things and be sincere and want to help, you'll get reciprocation. Help people buy.
Yeah.
People don't sell to people. And the thing that we were missing with commercial was we weren't helping. We were just there. We were available, but nobody really we were looking at us as a value. And so now with our engineering department resources and more boots on the ground, we were able to go out and really even sponsor American Society of Landscape Architecture events, do accredited presentations, which is a big effort.
Yeah.
And go around and like I spoke at iLandscape in Chicago last week, and then I spoke at the DC area Sustainability Symposium on Tuesday this week.
Wow.
And so that's a different level of effort, I think, when you're trying to help people and educate them, and then hopefully they return that in kindness and specify you and use you. But it's that follow-up, and when they do know that when they find out that the residential dealer reps support commercial and everybody gets credit for the sale, well, now they're like, well, you guys have an army of reps. You have an army of service. We have more reps on the road than any other manufacturer, and in the markets that we are predominant in. And I think that matters when it comes to nobody's perfect, right? So yeah, you're always going to need some support and help.
So I just want to touch on two things that you said there. That education, okay, and you asked me how many showcases have I been to. I've been to quite a few. And I enjoy going to them. I enjoy the network of guys. I enjoy seeing, contractors from central Pennsylvania that I know, that I went to school with, down to Maryland and Virginia, and including the guys in Jersey, right? And a lot of people will tell you, I ask them, hey, are you coming to Hardscape? Or Hardscape. Are you coming to Showcase? Nah, I was there last year. Okay. So was I. But I'm still going. And there's always something. Pete puts on a great show, and it's not always the same thing, right? They may touch on certain things that was the same as last year, but if you think you're too good to attend this year from last year and not learn something, even if it's the exact same show, then you're wrong. You're always, in my opinion, this is just my humble opinion, you're always going to pick up on something. Or maybe your perception's a little different this year than it was last year, and it's going to be different next year. And we talk about reinvestment into your installation business. Just go. It's the craziest thing is it's free.
Yeah.
Right?
We used to pay people to go. We used to give them $100 gift card. We stopped doing that because it became so popular. But yeah, no, I can't agree with you more, only because, not just because I work here. We talk about being a sponge, and sometimes sounding smart is different than being smart, but you also need to be able to educate your consumer, and the way Pete says things, and the business intelligence that you gain as well, not just the installation or the product knowledge.
Yeah.
It's the sales and marketing strategies. It's seeing how we present it. It's a world-class production.
Yep.
We spend all year on it. We spend a lot of money on it. We build a project. We showcase what we learn. But you can also pick up on the subtleties. You can pick up on the production quality.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up on how we present ourselves, and the professionalism, and not just the networking, but if you care about your business, or helping the businesses you work for, you can pick up on a lot of little things and ideas that I think will elevate your business.
So the other thing Charlie has done very well, and again, Charlie is the owner of TECHO-Bloc, but he's gotten to know his audience, okay? And you can tell just by having you two in the room today that he's also spent money and his resources to educate the two of you. So now that when you go in front of a new architect or a new engineer, you have the confidence in the products you guys produce, to talk eloquently about them with confidence. And that's the biggest factor. I think we talked about it on air earlier, is people buy from people, right? But what's the next word?
Well, wrong. This is a paver Peteism that we kind of sponged up, but they buy from people they trust.
That's right. People buy from people they trust.
Correct.
And you can just tell by the way you guys carry yourselves, and TECHO sales reps as a whole carry themselves with trust, and professionalism.
Thank you. Yeah.
So appreciate that, Kyle.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on TECHO-Bloc, for other reasons. But Charlie's done a great job with, and I hope this commercial side of the business grows for you guys. And there's new and innovative things you guys are doing for this. So I
think one thing that helped me flip a switch when I first joined here was, you work for TECHO-Bloc, right? You're the specifier commercial rep in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. I think it flipped when I was called, no, you're a consultant, right? Like, at the end of the day, yes, do I want TECHO-Bloc sales? Do I want to enhance my numbers? Do I want to grow the company? Do I want to grow my territory? 1,000,000%. But think about it, consultant, right? That means that you're not just a consultant for TECHO-Bloc, you're a consultant for the person that's in front of you. So one avenue that I think helped me propel my business with, either contractors or specifier community was, especially during COVID, wild time, right? Production was at overmax, couldn't get pavers to people fast enough, unfortunately. Orders kept coming in, high level stress all around. And unfortunately, I would lose sales, but I would actually be like, hey, I know you need help on this. I do know that XYZ might have what you're looking for. I think you're better off going that way because I can't deliver it for you. And did it hurt in the moment to maybe lose a sale right there? yes, but I gained confidence and trust that I think for me longer term was that speaks more volumes.
Yeah, and I hope by steering that contractor, that architect, the right direction, that comes back I find it comes back tenfold.
Yeah,
It does. Right. It does.
Yeah, you might lose this one, but they remember you for the next one.
Yeah. Well, one story I'll share, Paver Pete, Ryan Rivali, and I, Ryan, he's been on the show, our rock star, rep, period, the best rep we've ever had, in multiple categories for multiple reasons. I say that. They asked us to present on personal development at our national sales meeting a couple years ago.
Wow.
And we wrote a presentation together, us three, and it wasn't about product knowledge. It was invest in yourself because you care about the reputation that you have and you care about providing value to people in every interaction. And that's the culture at TECHO-Bloc. And I think not everybody buys into it. Some people are like, oh, whatever, we sell colored concrete. But to each their own. I'm not going to make people care, but I want to inspire them to care. And I think if you just focus on building your own personal reputation, your own personal network, be inquisitive, be helpful, you're going to be successful in life.
Yeah.
And that's what Pete imparted on me as a young contractor in my early 20s, 17 years ago. And I subscribe to it. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, we talk about it all the time. It's not about always making the sale. You have to have patience and perseverance, and you have to ask for the business and be assertive. Don't get me wrong, but you need to care about people too.
Ask for the business.
Yeah.
Key right there. A lot of people don't do it. And that is a story for a different time.
Yeah.
But what I want to do in closing is, how do architects, contractors, how do they get in touch with yourselves?
I guess the beauty part of TECHO-Bloc is you could contact us really anywhere from your phone, right? Specifically, super easy. But website would be a great way to start if you're looking to find the right person to get in contact to.
Yeah, we have a find a rep page.
Yep, find a rep page on our commercial landing site as well. I'm on Instagram, Techo_Tom as well. So super easy. Send me a message. I'm pretty well connected with a lot of people in the area since I've been here for about 4 years. But if you don't follow me, give us a follow as well. And all my content information will be either on the website or on my Instagram page in terms of email and phone number directly.
Yeah, we're both also active on LinkedIn, so
Yes.
look us up there. And I'm at Techo Tap House. Something that I always give Paver Pete crap for is I still have more followers than him for now. But Ryan is a big help with helping elevate my marketing skills too. So anyway, I'm there, I'm active, and tag me, I'll repost your stuff. I'm happy to give exposure. And we're around. At the end of the day, we want to come in for lunch and learns. We want to support and educate, and see us at local ASLA events. We do New Jersey ASLA. We're big sponsors of the New Jersey ASLA show in Atlantic City every January.
Okay.
Yeah.
For anybody local. But we travel around. I'm going to Colorado next week for a big trade show. So just try to follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll post all of our events that we're doing, and you can catch us at one of those events.
Sounds great, guys. I thank you very much for you guys have a full schedule, and you took the time out to come to a little show like ours. I really, really appreciate it.
No, it's awesome. Thank you.
We appreciate you having us on.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hardscape Huddle. Take care.